Okay, how are you doing? Welcome back and thank you for watching. In this video, we're going to start playing with the JavaScript of this project. As you can see, we'll style this later, but we're at a point where now we can start playing with the JavaScript and get into the real meat and potatoes of this project. I've had my coffee and my nicotine, and I paused my little Jocko podcast, so I hope you're ready for this. Uh, One little quick note before we go on is I'm working on how to export my videos and get it so it's right in the screen and it has uh good video quality. So work with me on that a little bit, please. I appreciate it. But yeah, so in this project we're gonna be playing with event listeners. We're gonna start adding some data. So we're gonna be using dictionaries and lists to start storing our data so that way when we click on one of these and our event listener sees us click on it, we'll be able to display the data we want. And then on event listeners, there's something called arrow functions or anonymous functions. I'll go into that a little bit. They're very useful in JavaScript. I love them. So let's get right into it. Open up that JavaScript file. Fucking, pardon the French. And let's get to it. So an event listener in JavaScript is how we can tell if someone's interacting with our website or the HTML. So if we're gonna want to know when someone clicks tacos, burritos, and sides. And like, let's just say you're on the website and you're a user, you want to see the burritos, food options, click burritos. You want to see tacos, sides, click sides. And the event listener is going to tell us when a user does that, and then we can tell the event listener how to respond to the user's interaction. And there's a few things you need to know about event listeners. The first thing is that you need to let JavaScript know which objects or which elements we want to listen to. And we have to grab those from the HTML. Well, for JavaScript to know, the way I do it is you can give a class ID. I prefer classes when it comes to interacting and using JavaScript and HTML. So what we're gonna do is let's give these their own IDs. So start with ID, and just so I know when I'm reading my classes and IDs in my files, I'm gonna make my IDs uppercase for this first letter and not use a little hyphen here. So I'm gonna say taco option. We're gonna call it option. And then same thing for burritos. ID equals burrito option. So same thing. Save this real quick. And so now we want to tell our JavaScript file, hey, let's pay attention to these elements on our HTML file. So to start out in our JavaScript file, the first thing we're going to want to do is get these elements and say, hey, in our HTML file, there is an element with the ID of this, and we're going to put that in a variable so that we can play with it and manipulate it later on in our JavaScript file. So I'm going to say const taco option equals document dot get element by ID, and I'm gonna come over here, copy this, and paste it. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the burrito and size. I'm gonna say burrito option doc. And if you want to get, so if you look here, you said get element by ID, get elements by class name, get elements by name. So our class border, if we want to work with the border in this JavaScript file, we'd have to put that border in a variable and then say get this element by class name, get elements by name. So if you want to get a P, if you want to get a div, if you want to get the main header, get tag names, and so forth and so on. But we're going to say get element by ID because that's what we want. And this one is burrito option. Don't forget your semicolons. And then the last one is const sides option. And just the same thing. Make sure I have all these spelled right. I have sides yes. Okay, so now that our JavaScript file knows that taco option, this variable, is the taco option ID in our HTML file. Like I said, we wanna know when somebody interacts with this element with this ID, and we want to add that event listener because this will tell us if someone plays with that certain element. So I'm gonna say taco option dot add event listener, and the first parameter it takes is how are they interacting. So there's I'm gonna use click, but there's ways. I'll pull up the MDN real quick and show you all the different options you have, and I'm gonna put a link in the comments or in my description for this. But yeah, don't be afraid to Google and look up stuff that you don't know. Everyone's codes as a developer is always looking up stuff, but okay, so either way, I can't find where it's at, but if you want to look through the documentation here, you'll be able to see everything you need to know, literally everything you need to know about the event listener and the different parameters you have for it and different ways you can listen. So like on like click, whatever it is, yeah, there you go. But so now we say, okay, well, this person's clicked on our taco option ID or the element with the taco option ID. What do we want to happen? So now this is where we use the event listener, or not the event listener, the arrow function, and we're going to tell it what to do when you click that element. So I'm just right now, let's just see what happens. So I'm going to say clicked. Okay, so if we click on tacos now, if you're curious on what's going to happen, Control-Shift-I to open your DevTools. So click on taco a few times, see what happens. And it says clicked, which, there we go, it's listening. We didn't add the event listener for the burrito or anything like that, so if you click on burrito, how says 3, burrito, insides, nothing will happen. But let's do that now. If you want to jump ahead, do it yourself, go for it. That'll be even better. So come back here. I'm just going to copy and paste and say burrito, and then fix that. It'll fix, I say, but sides. Okay, so now that we have our event listeners, we're gonna we want to see data when we click the event listener, just like over here. Click tacos. See, you working? There we go. Click sides, our sides pop up. Click burritos, burritos will pop up, and then click tacos, tacos pop up. So let's just console.log data for right now whenever this is clicked. That's going to be our next step. So I'm gonna I'll put a GitHub repository up for my code where you can copy the data and just paste it because there's no point typing it out yourself, I don't think. Okay, so this is a great way to save and store data just locally. If you're in the future, you might be using a database, or if you have just a simple website where you just is a constant, you don't need a database, you just want it to be just the data's in here, so on and so forth. This is a great way to do it, and this is a great way to help keep your data organized. So all we have here is the menu options, and we have our ID. I'll explain what this is used for later. We have the name, the description, the price, menu category, and where I got the image from. I'll, like I said, I'll put this in my GitHub, and you can copy it. But yeah, no. So for right now, I'm gonna start playing with some loops. These are going to. I hope you know how to use them. I'll explain them a little bit, but these are going to get our options based on what's clicked. So if someone clicks tacos, we're only going to want the menu options with tacos in the menu category, which is why this is here. So for right now, just to keep it simple, normally I'll create a function for it later, but we're just going to put it right in the event listener. I'm going to use a for loop to loop through these menu options, and what that'll do is it'll search every menu. It'll go down the list and say, okay, I have a menu. And of course, I'm going to be looking for tacos since I clicked taco option. So I was going to say, well, does it have a menu category of taco? If it says no, it doesn't. If it doesn't equal taco, we're going to skip to the next one, so forth and so on. If it does, we're going to return that. So let's come right here and say for x equals 0. And then, well, x is not equal to the length of menu, which is the length, we're going to say x plus plus. All this is saying is we're declaring a variable here. This is the variable that's going to help us loop through all this. So we declare this variable. And then with this variable, we're going to say, okay, what's x? So far, x is 0. Is it not equal to the length of menu? Yeah, it's not equal to it. Okay, let's add 1 to it. And so once it's equal to menu, it's going to be like, okay, I don't want to add 1 to it. Let's just stop. So I'm going to create a new variable and call it data. So I'm going to say let data equals menu x. And so what's happening right here is, let's say, if we say, I'll show you. So let's just console.log data. So we'll go console.log it if you want real quick. But so this x is whatever this is equal. So well, it's, let's say x is equal to 0 on the first one. It's going to say data is equal to whatever the 0th index of menu is. So we're going to print data, which is going to be this guy right here. It should print all this out. And then once it runs through that and prints, it's going to add another one. It's going to add 1 to our x. It's going to do the same thing. It'll print this guy out right here. And then it'll print this guy out right here. So let's look at that real quick. Refresh my page, click taco, and now we can see all of the data in our menu. But we don't want all the data, we just want tacos. Whatever has tacos in it. Just tacos. We love tacos. So now I'm going to create an if loop. I want to know if data is equal to a certain, if data is equal to what we want, then I want to do something else. So I'm going to say if data dot menu category, because that's what we're trying to get. This is what we want. We want this right here. This right here. This menu category will tell us what kind of food this food item is, and then we can say, okay, is this food item a taco? No. So skip it. But that is how you get the different. If I wanted to get the food name, I would say menu.foodName. If I wanted to get the price, I'd say menu.foodPrice. And that's how you can interact with the data inside of your database. Say if data.menuCategory is strictly equal to tacos with a capital T, then I'm going to want to see what date it is. So now when we click tacos, we should only see the menu items with the category of tacos in our database. So save this, run it, refresh, click tacos, and now we get these 3 items. We have 1, 2, and 5. So let's go look at our database, make sure that's all the tacos. So we have 1 taco, we have 2 taco, and then 5 should be right there, taco. 4 is not a taco, it's a side. 6 is not taco, and then 7 is burrito too. So now that we have this, we are going to want to make our, this event listener is, we're going to give the event listener specific steps when this item is clicked. Our first step is to say, okay, let's get all the data with this. So let's create a little function now. Let's see, function, I'm going to call it get menu items. And I'm going to copy and paste all of this. Now, what we want to do is call and get menu items in our event listener. And, oh no, wait a second. If I call it down here, it's still going to look for tacos, even though we want a burrito. So now let's give the get menu items a parameter. So we're going to call get menu items, and anytime we call it, we got to tell it what we want to find. So right here, I'm just going to say tacos. And then just give this food choice. And we're going to say food choice right here. So when we click tacos, it's going to say, okay, I want to run this function, get menu items. And get menu items has a parameter of tacos. Oh no, where am I going to use tacos in here? So it's saying, no. Okay, right here, right there. This is what our special item is. So now we can just copy and paste right here and say sides and burritos. And so save it, refresh. Let's try this. So let's tacos. We see our tacos. Cool. Let's click burritos. Now we got our burritos right here. Start right here. And there's nothing under it. Click sides. There we go. We got our sides. So that is how we use event listeners. That's a little bit of information on data, how to manipulate data a little bit through this, and also IDs. To go over it one more time, what's happening here? We want to know when the user comes to our site, we know they have to click on one of these 3 things right here. And when they click on one of these 3 things, we want something very specific to happen. So we add an event listener to these elements right here, and this event listener is given a set of instructions to follow once they click that element, because we want to give them a certain path to go down. Think of it like a maze or a little race or something like that. We want them to turn right, and so when they turn right, we want them to have these options. And not only that, but instead of creating 3 different functions for each one of these, so we can check for burritos and the sides through different functions, we used a parameter to make it a more universal function. And so now our code's easier to read, it's easier to maintain, and it just looks prettier. And this for loop right here, I'll break this down. This says, this is our variable. We need a variable because in this next one, we need some kind of catch. We need to know when we want to stop, and we want to stop when the number x is equal to whatever number the length of our menu is. And then we also want to know what to do after we finished this and it's not true yet. So say x plus plus, which is the same as x plus equals 1, or x plus 1, whatever you want, however you want to say it, that's all the same. And then right here, we are creating a new variable for menu x. X is, if it's 0, it's this. If it's 1, it's this. If it's 2, it's this. X right here will get the index of menu. And so, again, with this data variable, we're going to say, okay, well, let's see what data 0 menu category is. So tacos, burritos, sides. Oh, okay, it's sides. So let's just print out sides now. And that's that. That's how you can play with data, manipulate data, and a little bit about event listeners. In the next video, we are going to start throwing that on the screen, everything we got right here, and we're going to organize it so it's starting to look like this. I'm going to do the styles and everything later on, but for right now, we just want to be able to click this and have this pop up on the screen right here, this image and this text. But I appreciate you watching. Thank you. I hope you learned something. Feel free to comment, and I hope you have a great day.